What is going on, Pretender here, back with another Honkai style video. Today I'm here with a different kind of video. I'm here with a more community response focused like video, and it's going to be regarding the most recent controversy for the game being Castorice's global passive. So the way this video is going to be working is, first you're going to be going to the intro portion, which is the portion you're watching right now. Then I'll be giving a recap on what the actual issue is for people that may be unaware. Then I'll be giving my stance on what I do think, and then I'll be popping up a few of the actual community posts, because I did do a community post on this asking for what you guys did actually think. And for the most part, practically everyone does have the same idea, which is very similar and practically identical to mine on what we do think about it. So after I do give what I do think, I'm going to be posting up what some specific people, because I chose a few to post on here, I'm going to read it out and say what I agree, maybe disagree. Of course, I can't actually put in everyone's because there is a good amount. There's like 80 plus responses, I'm pretty sure, and I can't obviously pick everyone, so I'm going to go through it and I'm just going to say practically everyone is in the very same consensus for the most part, to see what our concerns are for this actual passive going forward. So that's all I want to say. Before I get to the video, drop a like, drop a sub, hit the bell icon for future videos like this, and let's just get straight into it. So first, as I said, for people that are actually unaware of what this global passive is, pretty much with the release of Castorice in 3.2, when she does release in the first half, there is a new thing that is called a global passive, which will be exclusive to Castorice right now. And what it does is it gives you a revive if Castorice is on your account, meaning she doesn't have to be on the team, she doesn't have to be on that active team, she doesn't even have to be on the second team, she just needs to be owned. You can literally pull her, unlock it. I forgot if you actually have to unlock it or not. You might have to, you probably don't have to. It's probably just something that comes in default. So you just get her, you can leave her level 1, and now you have a revive that works on every endgame mode. So just if you were unaware, that's to catch you up what we are talking about right now. Yeah, now the next segment, me talking about what I personally do think about this issue. My stance is I'm obviously against it. I think this whole global passive thing should not actually be a thing. My entire stance on it is I don't think Castorice specifically is actually the reason. It should not really be a focus on the revive. I think the revive itself is just whatever. I think that should not be the big deal about it, but it's the idea that global passives now exist. My issue is, what if we do get to the point where multiple characters do have global passives, they actually end up stacking, they actually give something like stats, like once they give speed, energy, skill points back, attack, especially crit stats, maybe break for break characters, is once you get to that point, it's going to be where it just gets out of hand. Especially if they do get stronger, which if they constantly release global passive characters, they would get stronger and stronger and stronger. And a lot of times they would actually end up bouncing around that, because now you have all these characters all over the place that you want to own just to have on your account to get these actual specific buffs. Because right now, you could literally not pull Castorice and it would be completely fine. You would have no issue without actually having the global passive. It doesn't matter. But once we get to the point where multiple characters end up having it and it provides stats such as, again, speed, crit, all that stuff, that's when it becomes an issue, especially once we do get to the point where all of them are stacked together. We have a bunch of stats and they will probably further inflate HP by a ton more than they already have, which will make a big disadvantage for a lot of people that may not want to summon for said characters that have global passives, because there's going to be people that do not like Castorice at all. They don't want to get her and she has a global passive, and so now that they don't have it, they're at a disadvantage. Again, I think the revive itself is whatever. No one should really be arguing about the revive. You could literally just not pull her and the game is normal. But once we do get to more of them, and if we get to more of them, which it is seeming like we are getting that, because there's going to be a whole new UI section for passives, is where it does become an issue. If it's a thing where it's only for anniversary units, so Castorice is the anniversary unit, maybe next year we get another one, and it's practically just one maybe per year, then I think it can be fine as long as it's not super broken, because anniversary units are meant to be really good, so I can get the idea of global passives and them bringing something unique. But if it's something that isn't super game changing, like imagine next year they do something that's like, hey, here's 20 crit rate if you hit this requirement in battle, then it's like, okay, well, that's a big jump, ain't it? If it's like a once a year thing and it's something that's not that crazy and you can get it without and they don't bounce around it, then it's fine. I think they can probably constantly do it while actually being on a once a year schedule. But if constantly units are getting it, so let's say we're getting a Castorice one now, next one gets it is fine on. I know some info going around are suggesting the fake collab unit might have it, and then maybe the next one who gets it is the Serene character. If we just get this constantly, it's going to get to the point where we get so many characters that have it and it constantly is just going to stack. And that's when it becomes a big issue. So that is what I personally do think about it. I'm against it for that exact reason. So now I'm going to be pulling up some of your responses. I did pick a total of 6. and most of them relatively are in agreement on what the issue would be. Everyone did words theirs different, and they may have a different type of concern. but in general, it is the same kind of predicament and the same consensus. If you want to take a look at the full community discussion and also maybe comment your actual issue on it, or if you're actually not against it for a reason down below, feel free to do so on the community post, or maybe even on this video. Just be sure to be respectful and don't be a jackass and attack people for their opinions. So the first one is actually by the username of Max. And they say in their opinion, the effect itself is not actually game breaking at all, since most people do run well built sustain so they don't die in the first place. Issue does lie in the very concept of having the effect tied to the character and having it work if they are not even in the party. Pretty bad of whatever to come, because God knows what broken passives they actually could cook up in the futures for characters like Finon or Serene, and can create the worst instances of FOMO you've ever seen at a gacha, followed by that also being promoted by people begging for their beloved Castorice to get a bunch of buffs. So I definitely do agree with what you do say, especially here as well. And so do many people. So as Max did say, a lot of people that actually do tackle on endgame modes and actually get the clears and go for the full rewards, you most likely have a well-built sustain, whether that be Aventurine, Linksha, even Welt still good, especially when there's a really powerful 4-star one being Gallagher. You already have a lot of good sustain, so the effect itself, as I mentioned with my opinion as well, the revive not being an issue is practically something you can ignore, so that's not really the issue. And yep, exactly, with the entire issue of future ones potentially being even more broken, presenting more cases of FOMO that might happen, that is definitely very, very true as well. And I also do agree with the last thing you do said about beloved characters getting all these buffs, because the thing is about this community, or not this community in particular, but just the Hoyo community, and you guys have probably seen it in the past, and you see it presently. If it's a character that's super liked, everyone is going to cry for buffs. They could already be broken and people will still try to find a way to do post, and will always call for more buffs on their characters. I already thought Castorice was really strong, but people are still doom posting about her being too weak and calling for more buffs, even though we're already at the complete kit portion. She is already completely fine as an actual character, very, very strong at that now, and people still do call for buffs. And this is not just Castorice, it has happened to many characters in the past, and is probably going to happen for many more to come, probably for the rest of the game's life cycle. That's another good thing that you did mention. Next comment is by a person named Kazuki, where they do say it is relatively useless now, but a starting point since they've already added a UI for it, and these passives will stack in every game mode, and they have done this in Honkai 3rd, not talking about the balance in that game, and how they will also personally ignore characters with it, or even make fun of them a little, because +1 perma cost memes and stuff like that. That's also pretty funny, honestly, yeah. There's a lot of stuff like, you know, cost on the stuff, like, you know, 4 cost teams, they're cycling this. Now if you have Castorice owned, that's +1 perma cost. But yeah, it's relatively useless, as I did mention previously. The revive itself, not really whatever. It's something you can completely ignore, but yeah, there being a UI for it, and the fact that these passives would actually end up stacking, as they didn't add at the end of Castorice's passive itself, saying this does not stack with other passives. So if they do add other ones in the future, that probably means there's going to be stacking of them. And I don't know what you mean about whether they've done that in Honkai 3rd. I haven't played Honkai 3rd in years, and I don't remember there being passives of a character not being on the team giving you buffs. But I do agree, the balance in Honkai 3rd is just absolutely horrible, and is practically the reason I did quit that game. That game just had power creep every banner. But yes, as you guys see, it's another case where it's more like, oh, it's whatever right now, it's just a revive, but the idea of the global passive is going to get bad, and they're going to stack. Next one's actually by my friend Amazing Grand Cross. And he also does say, in his opinion, regardless of how good the effect of the revive actually is, pretty much saying, like, you know, regardless of it being just a revive, it does set a bad precedent for the game, because now how the devs would release more characters that have stronger passes in the future, based on how well Castorice will actually do. By that, I'm pretty sure he is referring to how the banner sales will do as well. Another thing to mention is that it could cause endgame to revolve around either having the passive, which would make people feel forced to pull for the passive and not the character. But I also do definitely agree with that. I feel like with more people pulling for Castorice, because regardless, everyone, not everyone, but like a lot of people are going to pull for Castorice, she's probably going to be a very high sell banner, because Castorice herself is a very hyped up character, and they do advertise her a lot, especially also because she is an anniversary character. The banner sales will tell people, the banner sales will tell Hoyoverse that we are actually still going to get it regardless of them having passives, and they probably still will actually end up getting the idea that if they give other characters passives, that might be a thing for other people to summon, and they might not think too much of it, no matter how much we complain, because let's face it, if we're not the CN base and the CN base is not causing an uproar, which I'm pretty sure they didn't actually end up doing, they don't care as much as us, I don't think, I actually don't know. If we're not them, we're probably not going to get a change happen. It's very rare if it does happen. And then, as Amazing also did mention, having the end game actually revolve around these passives, is where it also becomes very, very bad, because people will no longer pull for a character for the actual character, but rather just a passive. Because, as again, I've already mentioned countless times, revive, whatever, but like if we get to the point where what if a character gives you like a global 5 to 10 speed buff, and it could be the most despisable character ever. Like, no one could like them, but that's a 5 to 10 speed global buff. Do you know how many more breakpoints you could hit with just 5 to 10 speed as a global buff? It also lowers the needs you would want on your speed rolls on your relics, allowing you to hit breakpoint easier, get your specific tunings done faster, and help you even hit higher thresholds even easier. And it could just be you pulling a character you just do not care about, you don't even want, but just because their passive is so good, you're gonna want to get them. And then once we get to the point where multiple of these exist, a lot of people will still summon for them, and endgame would actually get focused around that with HP inflation and such. Now I have 3 more here, but I'm going to speed through this a little faster because the video is already getting a bit long and it is relatively repetitive on what the general consensus is, so we're just getting more perspective here. That's kind of the point. So these next 3, I'm going to go a little faster. The next one is by Alta, where they do say the revive may as well not exist for most players who bother with MOC and just endgame stuff. They don't care if the passive is small like the revive or 5% count wide BDM, but if it does end up getting more and more egregious or more mechanics rely to them, that's when it becomes problematic. But for now, it's not really a thing that you would gain anything if you do skip, at least until we do get a second passive to see what goes on. And unfortunately, this is a gacha, so the slippery slope fallacy actually holds weight here, which is also very true. So this is a perspective of someone that does say they don't really care, even if the buffs are a bit small, but once it gets to the point where they do get a big kind of increase, or there's a big mechanic in the global passive, and then actual endgames get revolved around that, that's when it actually becomes an issue. But for now, or even future smaller ones, such as a lower-sided stat buff, it would not actually be problematic, which I want to say I agree, but the reason I do disagree with that a little bit personally is just because if we do get multiple global passives of small buffs and it does stack, it's going to get up to a bigger number where it becomes just a bunch of characters giving these stats. So someone that actually ends up summoning for all these characters with those small buffs will have a significant advantage over someone that doesn't have them, because they will have these maybe small crit damage buffs accumulated for multiple characters that could add up to maybe 40, 50 plus. But again, as they also did mention, we won't really know until we get a second passive, and we will just have to wait and see, which is also very true. Next one is by Daki, who said they've seen people sell the idea that it'll open a Pandora's box of broken passive effects that will lead to more power creep and HP inflation. I wouldn't be stupid enough to call BS on that, however, they are one of many who's willing to give the concept of a global passives a chance. So, just like other times, the whole thing of future ones potentially adding very, very insane things like a bigger increase to stats or maybe even a bigger mechanic, which eventually is going to further increase the HP of bosses, as we've already had multiple issues of that and a lot of complaints about HP inflation, with not many signs of it slowing down too much. And power creep, you know, it very much depends on what you invest into to let power creep happen or not, but there definitely is apparent power creep at times, so that would be another view to actually look at. But they are also one of many people thinking to give global passives a chance, which is also very fair, because it could end up just being a one-off thing, and the next ones we do get could not be too crazy, and it could also be at a very slow pace, and we could be making a whole fuss for no actual reason, but we will just have to wait and see. And the last one I'm going to show in this video is by Nora, who does state they do not really care about endgame, but they are in agreement with the absolutely insane precedent that Castorice does bring. They already were going to pull and they won't quit yet, but once more and more global buffs do release, their account will never see the light of day at all. This is ridiculous. So another case of it's fine now, and this is also the view of someone that does say they don't care about endgame either, because there is a significant amount of people in the Hoyo space, even in Genshin and such, who don't really care about endgame modes. They don't really care about clearing it. They'll just do whatever they can to get the free amount of pulls, whatever they can get, and they won't really bother trying to clear it. They're mainly there for the story and the characters. And even in their view, they do seem like, just using Nora as an example, where they do actually understand how this can be an issue, because you may be someone that doesn't care about endgame, but you still want to clear a decent amount, and if we get to the point where global passives get revolved around too much, where there's just so many characters that give so much, players who are free to play and can't actually beat endgame would have a significantly hard time, and the less they can beat endgame now, the less they'll be able to be in the future, obviously, and there'll be lower floors and lower floors and lower floors to the point where they can't even get maybe even halfway in, let's say, a year or two from now. That obviously varies from player to player because everyone has different goals and different ways to play the game. And the whole global passive as an idea is actually making people quit, but again, as Dora did say, they won't quit yet. But if it ends up being more thing, I'm going to assume they also did mean it's going to be something that will make them quit if we do get more. And I also do agree with that. I do think the more they will add, the more people will quit, because eventually it's going to get to a point where it just constantly goes and a lot of people won't be able to keep up, light spenders and free-to-plays especially. And maybe even whales get fed up because they don't want to summon for character, because there's people, like, I'm just going to use me as an example. I spend a lot of money on the game. I like spending money on the game because I like playing the game, and I do like actually using the characters. I love the story and I love the characters. but there also may be other people like me who do spend a good amount of money on the game that might eventually get tired of all these global passes and getting a bunch of characters that they don't actually like just to keep up with this, because me personally, I don't summon for everyone. If a unit is really fun and I also like them, I will obviously get them. Dupes depend on how good it is. I have a different mindset now on how I do go for dupes, but I mainly go for characters I like and actually like using. They could be completely broken. If I don't like them, I won't get them. But if we get to the point where we get these kind of characters where I personally may not like, but they have a global passive, and then multiple end up releasing and I might not like any of them, and then they have global passives. If they get too good, then it's like, okay, if I don't get these, I'm gonna have a harder time than someone else who actually likes them, or maybe just got them just because of the global passive. Because again, I'm not made of infinite money. I can't just swipe the card at every moment if I want to get a character. I have my own limits. I'm gonna hope this doesn't end up making me quit in the future either. I'm more optimistic on hoping they do it in a more orderly fashion, but we'll have to see. But there are other people like me as an example. And yep, that is it. First off, I do want to say thank you for everyone that did actually give a response in the community poll. I've never actually done a community related video like this. I don't really like making negative videos like this, going against a whole thing. It's not really my style. I'm more of a guide maker and news related channel, and also, you know, stream recaps, all that kind of stuff. I'm not really one to talk about negativity about the game and really bad stuff that they're doing, but sometimes I'm going to have to. But yeah, as always, feel free to comment down below what you do also think about this global passive. Feel free to discuss among other people in the comments, but again, just be sure to be respectful. And do not attack everyone, as we all share different opinions. We are not the same person. And if you end up getting really heated over someone else's opinion on a character that is fictional, then I really don't know what to tell you. Yep, that's all I wanted to say. Peace out.